too. I was like, yes. Oh, so happy to see you. All right, all set. All right, good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. It's so beautiful to see you after an amazing day out on the streets together yesterday. Really appreciate all the energy from everybody who's holding it down here in Oakland and everyone from GGJ around the country, around the world. Feeling good this morning. I have to introduce myself. My name is Sara, Sara Mersha. My pronouns are she and her. With Grassroots International, based in Boston, Wampanoag, in Massachusetts territory. I am a light-skinned black woman with my hair pulled back in a half ponytail, Berta Cáceres earrings, and a purple MST Women National Encounter t-shirt. I wanted to share an opportunity for solidarity this morning. So I wanted to ask, how many of you all know who Ofrane is? The Black Fraternal Organization of Honduras, Organización Fraternal Negra Hondureña. If you know who Ofrane is, let me hear some noise. Woo! It's an amazing movement organization of Garifuna peoples, which are Afro-descendant indigenous peoples on the Atlantic coast of Honduras, who are in a constant struggle to reclaim territory, to preserve culture, to defend Mother Earth, water, land, each other. And a number of us got to connect in person with folks from Ofrane. Who's around in 2014 at the climate justice marches in New York City? Yes, you all got to know Miriam Miranda there. And Sharif mentioned that one of the Ofrane members, Mario Mejia Solorzano, was planning to come and be here and spend time because Ofrane really prioritizes connecting with folks across borders, building solidarity. They really were excited to be here. Unfortunately, because of the way that Mario has been criminalized, because of Ofrane's work to defend territory, he was not allowed to travel out of Honduras to come here. So it's super serious, the way folks have been attacked, but we know that they're with us in spirit. And I wanted to share a way that we can be with them. So there's a Garifuna saying that Mario has taught us, which is, Aura Buni, Amuru Nuni. What it means is, me for you and you for me. So can everybody say that together? I'll say it and you repeat. So it's Aura Buni, Amuru Nuni. So me for you, you for me. And this is an important moment for us to be with Ofrane because of their work to defend territory. As I said, they're under a lot of attack. 2 years ago, there were 4 members of Ofrane, 4 leaders who were kidnapped, taken out of their communities, and still have not been returned. And there hasn't been any real investigation into what's been going on. And we know that there is now, the people have put in place a different government. We're going to be talking about power. There's a different government in power at the national level that is unseated the right-wing coup government that was in power for 12 years. So that's huge, yes. And unfortunately, there's still right-wing powers that are controlling the Attorney General's office and other aspects of the justice system. So unfortunately, there still hasn't been a real investigation, and the Garifuna people are demanding that they want their people back. They said they were taken alive, we want them back alive. So in August, they went and did an action to demand government to really take responsibility to make this happen. And there was a lot of solidarity with them. People also know, how many people know COPIN? The Civic Council of Indigenous and Popular Organizations of Honduras. Berta Cáceres' organization, which I know has also been with GGJ, they were standing there with Ofrane at this action because they believe in that solidarity, Black and Indigenous solidarity. And as a result, the Attorney General's office is now doing a criminal investigation to try to bring charges against Miriam Miranda, against their lawyer, against another one of the members of Ofrane, and against all of the general coordination of Ofrane, and against all the general coordination of Copin. So this is really serious at this moment. It could be prison terms up to 10 years in total, based on the charges that they want to bring. So here's an opportunity. They're saying, now's the time we need international solidarity. We need folks to be able to show the officials, the right-wing officials who are bringing this investigation against them, that, you know what, we're not going to stand for it. So are you with me? Absolutely. So there are two things we can do. One is a sign-on letter for organizations. So we're asking if you all can ask your organizations to sign on to a letter saying, you know what, we're not going to stand for this. This is an injustice, and we believe that the Garifuna people, the Lenca people, that all peoples need to be able to defend their territories and the earth without being criminalized, without being attacked. And then there's also an individual e-action. So we're asking if everyone can share that out with your members. We want to get like hundreds of organizations and thousands and tens of thousands of people to sign this. So I want to ask, will you all do that with us today? Yeah. All right, so we're going to send the links. There's some in email, and maybe we can send it all in the Signal chat as well. And let's say one more together. Aura Buni. Louder, I know you can do it. Aura Buni. Amuru Nuni. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. So if I can get the Leo, Carla, Brittany, Adam, Santra, if you all are our next plenary speakers, can come join us. I think it's 4 chairs, right? Do we need one more chair? In the meantime, while our speakers are coming up, let me introduce myself, because I keep not introducing myself. So good morning. My name is Sunyoung Yang. I go by she, they, and I am the GGA political director. And I am a 5'1/2" black-haired Korean woman, mama, wearing a bright neon yellow sweater with jeans and boots that I shouldn't be wearing because it's really uncomfortable. With Beta Cáceres hot pink earrings, which, Lisa, I'm forever grateful to you. Okay, so today this is our final plenary for the Assembly before we go into the important kind of decision-making proposals in the afternoon. But today's plenary is titled Building, I know it's different from the agenda, Building Conscious Forces to Win Governing Power and Our Alternative. And our hope today with this panel is to share kind of some of the examples of different organizing strategy from both our international allies to some of our national allies on where our movement should be prioritizing. That hopefully connects with the program proposal that we have put out around both planning the next, long-term 10 years around building a fair economy vision, and also for us to be able to do that, investing into a political formation school that will train militants and transformative organizers across our movement. As a grassroots movement, the root of our power, we know, is in our ability to reproduce conscious forces, grassroots leaders and organizers who are trained and deeply aligned to articulate and collectively struggle our alternative to capitalism. So without our folks, our militant base of conscious forces, we will not be able to win political power, governing power, the policies, and the reforms that we are wanting to win and deliver to our people. So today, we're going to be focusing a lot about the connection between collective struggle and campaign and how we want to unlock the protagonism of our grassroots base, not just in the couple hundreds, in the thousands, but in the millions that is necessary for us to be able to win fair. And this is not going to happen without the dialectic of providing the spaces for theory and practice. As one of my teachers and my former organization mentors have said, it's in the course of the battle that we are transformed and can best articulate the world we are trying to win. So during this plenary, I'm really asking all our members and folks to both think about the scale and depth needed to confront our enemy and win, what's needed to win transformative policies that make real changes for our base, what can be unlocked if we can win governing power. And that allows us to reshape how we govern ourselves. And also, around fair economy, what is going to take to create new forms of institution around care and sustainability that we can test out together? What are the collective campaigns? And what are the new transformative social relations that move us away from punitivity and exclusion and towards abolition that we are trying to create with our work? So these are the key principles of the fair economy, and we are trying to go scale and depth with it. So today's panelists here, rainbow colors, will walk us through the various lessons of their organizing strategy. So Leonardo from MAVE, hola. Leonardo from MAVE will kick us off in sharing Brazil's popular movement lessons of waging mass militant campaigns and some of the highlights of their organizing strategy. Carla from the Landless Workers Movement, the Florestan Fernandez School, will share about developing deep political consciousness through the MST school and how that complements their need to, their militant base building work. And then Brittany, who spoke this morning, will share a little bit more about seeing the left ourselves as protagonists in the fight for governing power. And Adam, right next to me, will be sharing a little bit from the working family's perspective, the current terrain of left electoral organizing. And last but not least, maybe my favorite, Sandra Dennis from Miami Worker Center, GGJ member, will also share concrete lessons from Miami Worker Centers around unlocking the feminist leadership of their base and waging campaigns and what it means for us to be in collective struggle and practice. So I'm going to pass the mic to Leonardo from Movement of People Affected by Dams, our first speaker. And I'll just ask for each of our panelists if you can just give a brief intro and describe yourself really briefly so that our member can know who you are.
Yo voy a sacar la máscara. Buenos días a todos y todas. Bien, me llamo Leonardo. Soy un chico alto, magro, pelo rubio. Mi mamá me dice que soy muy bonito. No sé. Es una... muchas gracias desde el movimiento, la oportunidad de estar acá con ustedes. Cintia va a decir del tiempo, por favor, Cintia, muchas gracias, que yo hablo mucho. Yo vengo desde Brasil, del movimiento de los afectados por represas, y pienso acá hablar un poquito de qué es esta lucha en Brasil y cómo desarrollamos ella, y quizá esto puede ser útil en la lucha que ustedes acá en Estados Unidos están planteando hacer, ¿no? Es para nosotros un honor poder compartir esta experiencia y quizá que sea útil porque, como está escrito acá en el cuadro, ¿no? El tema de poder y la estrategia, ¿no? Son cuestiones que andan juntas y quizá nuestro trabajo concreto pueda ser útil para que ustedes alcancen este esta meta, ¿no? Solo para contextualizarlos, ¿no? Brasil es un país muy grande, ¿no? Un país que históricamente no hizo justicia social, ¿no? Ocurrió desde el tiempo del descubrimiento y todas las fases que nosotros pasamos, este proceso de injusticia social se profundizado, ¿no? Fundamentalmente, ¿no? Nosotros vivimos en un país que las élites no reconocen los derechos de los trabajadores. Históricamente eso ocurrió y cuando se empezó hace 60 años a construir represas, no fue diferente, ¿no? Las represas van a ser construidas, especialmente desde los años 60, a 60 años atrás, no reconociendo los derechos de las personas afectadas. Es de ahí que surge el movimiento de los afectados por represas. Es un movimiento de lucha por justicia social, fundamental, por los derechos de los afectados, ¿no? Y mira, en este periodo, hace 60 años, se construyeron muchas represas en todo el territorio nacional, ¿no? Y todas estas represas hacían una resistencia desde los trabajadores afectados, los atingidos, ¿no? Y eran resistencias isoladas, aisladas, individuales. El primer esfuerzo del movimiento fue constituir una lucha nacional de los afectados, porque la causa era la misma, era lo mismo opresor y las mismas violencias. ¿Por qué no hacer una lucha nacional? ¿No? Una lucha especialmente por los derechos de los afectados, ¿no? Exclusiva, y esta fue la lucha del movimiento de afectados por represas a casi 15 años, desde su surgimiento. El MABE tiene hoy cerca de 30 años de lucha, 32 años de lucha. Pero los primeros 15 años fue una organización de lucha por los derechos de los afectados por represas, ¿no? La reparación de los derechos sacados desde la empresa. Mira, nosotros creemos que una de las grandes contribuciones que podemos hacer en el proceso es justamente la organización popular, porque estas élites en Brasil, al mismo tiempo que no reconocen nuestros derechos, tienen un poder de captura de toda estructura del Estado muy fuerte. Entonces, no somos contra los medios de lucha formales, decimos así, ¿no? Luchas parlamentarias, judiciales, dentro del campo del Estado burgués, ¿no? Pero creemos que nuestra principal contribución es justamente la presión popular, hacer mucha gente movilizar pelos derechos, ¿no? Mira, entonces, para hacer presión popular hay que envolver mucha gente. No es solo grupos de afectados aislados, ¿no? Hay que ser un movimiento nacional involucrando muchas personas. Este es uno de los grandes desafíos de nosotros. Cómo hacer una lucha masiva. Al mismo tiempo, descubrimos que la lucha, la violencia que las empresas que construyen las represas también se manifiesta no solo con los afectados, pero también con toda la población que vive en Brasil, ¿no? Como ya oí acá otro momento, en Brasil, por ejemplo, nosotros tenemos una matriz limpia de producción de energía, 80% viene de fuentes renovables, ¿no? Una condición muy barata de producción de energía, pero toda la población allá paga a segunda tarifa, la cuenta de luz más cara del mundo es de los brasileños. Mire, entonces, esta violencia que las empresas practican con nosotros, los afectados, también se generaliza con toda la población. Eso nosotros identificamos en el proceso de lucha, ¿no? Entonces, desde ahí, ¿no? Decidimos que tenemos que ser una lucha popular, que haga presión popular. Para isso, hay que tener mucha gente, além de los afectados, involucrar toda a população na luta por cambio del modelo energético. Então, para nós já não basta mais aqueles primeiros 15 anos que lutávamos apenas por nossos direitos. Agora queremos lutar por cambio em la estrutura da política energética brasileira. E a coisa vai ganhando mais força, não? Para ser popular, há que ter muita gente, como disse acá. Ao mesmo tempo, lutas como esta não acontecem. Lutas grandes assim, creemos que elas têm que ser hechas. Então, é necessário construir uma estrutura organizativa nacional, desde a base hasta os mais altos níveis, onde todos os afectados participam, sejam sujeitos ativos. Isso desde os grupos, então, desde grupos de afectados até as mais diferentes, chamamos de instâncias, níveis de coordenação, locais, regionais, nacionais. Mira, todo afectado há que ter uma função ativa nesse processo. Então, há que ser nacional. Todos os afectados têm que ser sujeitos. Há uma instância de comando nacional democrática, onde todos participam. Há processo de formação política, onde estudamos fundamentalmente a estrutura dos mecanismos de produção de energia em Brasil, as regras de produção das mercancias. Aí nos dibujamos sobre o tema do marxismo. O sujeito chamado Karl Marx foi a pessoa que melhor explicou como se produzem as mercadorias no sistema capitalista. É fundamental nós estudar isto, não? É desde a produção das mercancias que se produzem as principais contradições, e também é necessário estudar com todos. Estou falando muito rápido, perdão. Me empolgo aqui. Era estudar com todos a estrutura do movimento político. Mira, nós não estamos criando nada de nossas cabeças, não? Estamos bebendo de outras experiências históricas que ocorreram na América Latina e em todo o mundo da luta dos trabalhadores, não? Porque nós creemos que não basta só lutar pelo direito dos afectados, não só lutar por cambio da estrutura energética, é necessário lutar por cambio de toda a estrutura que oprime não só os afectados, não só quem consome energia, por toda a população brasileira e internacional. E desde aí, então, também, desde o movimento de afectados por represas de Brasil, involucramos organizações de afectados, não só de Brasil, mas especialmente de América, também de Europa e África, a desenvolver uma articulação internacional de luta pelo direito dos afectados, por uma nova política energética e por cambio estrutural da produção e distribuição de mercancias, né, uma ruptura do regime capitalista. Mira, nós hicimos isso no apartado da luta principal, não? Especialmente em caso de Brasil. Agora estivemos hasta domingo muito involucrados na eleição do companheiro Lula, né? Porque creemos que nossa luta será mais efetiva com a presença de companheiro allá que, ao menos, vai respeitar nossas demandas e implantar boa parte dos cambios que planteamos. Então, se Si cabe acá nuestro ejemplo en la lucha por poder y la estrategia de tomar el poder, es fundamental una organización que sea popular, o sea, masiva, donde todos son sujetos, participan activamente, que estudien cotidianamente su realidad y la realidad del capitalismo y que dialoguen con toda la sociedad. Por eso que decimos que agua y energía no son mercancías. ¿Vamos todos? No son mercancías. Agua y energía no son mercancías. Muchas gracias.
Wow, 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 wow. Thank you, Leo. And some of the pieces that Leo broke down are actually critical pieces of the organizing around political subject, which is going to be part of the formation school curriculum, hopefully, if we approve the proposal today. But thank you so much. I'm going to pass it to now Carla. Oh, no, espera un momentito. So I wanted to take some time because I realized that we haven't necessarily given a lot of breaks for folks, but also given what the theme is today, we wanted to have people share in pairs how has your organization or campaigns have waged, what has been the lessons that your organization or the campaigns that you have waged regarding transformative organizing? So let me read you the quote first. Transformative organizing becomes truly transformative in the course of battle. The true assessment of the effectiveness of an organization and its organizers can only be measured in practice in the actual struggle for power. An organization's success is ultimately judged by its capacity to take on powerful corporate and government forces, put forth radical demands, and wage long-term battles. Transformative organizers and organizations build their reputation in high visibility campaigns that fight for and often win important structural changes and make improvements in the lives of real people. So I wanted folks to maybe take some time in pairs and share about how is your organization and the campaigns you have all waged experienced similar lessons of transformative or transformation in the course of action. So find somebody that you don't know. Find somebody that you haven't talked to, all of the assembly, and share about your own transformative experience in the course of battle.
Perfect. Okay, good. Okay, that was weird.
It was good. It was perfect. I told her to mainly talk about the campaign, the organizing strategy, and then we talked about the process of the political subject.
That was great. So I had one other question at the end of this. If I give you a note, or would you like me to announce it? We have the Mar dinner tonight. Would you be willing to announce it if I give you that note, or do you want me to? You would?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you.
10:50. Sorry, I can't. It's going to be, lo siento, Carla in Espanol, in Spanish, and then Brittany's going to go. Actually, maybe you should go, and then maybe Brittany goes, because you're going to set up like the electoral terrain piece, and then Brittany can speak into where we fit in, you know. Yeah. So Santra's last. Yeah.
What is the name for this in Spanish?
Camiseta?
Camiseta.
Mhm.
Yeah.
¿Camiseta también?
En portugués también.
Camiseta. No, camiseta. Okay. How do I turn it off?
offset.
Yeah, okay. Sorry, it's live stream.
Yeah.
And I forgot to tell you, there's a pair share portion.
Okay.
So that,
That's cool. No worries.
Can you get somebody to, never mind, we're not going to depost it, but I was thinking because people are pair sharing and folks who wanted to share, we don't have time to share it fully, but actually people can like put it in the wall back there.
Yeah.
But we don't have any post-its, so ask somebody else because you're live streaming. Maybe Roxanne. Roxanne, I forgot. We wanted to give people post-its today so that because poured out, but we wanted to actually people write that whatever they shared together and put it on the wall back there.
Okay. So get you some post-its?
Yeah. And just distribute it out. I'm going to have Cindy, I'm going to have Carla go first. Yeah. I can't access it on this thing. I can't switch it as much, but yes, it's everybody else has 5 to 7 minutes. So. Proyectando live stream en el internet. Gente todo está escuchando. Yeah.
I'm winging it here.
All right, folks, that was time. I hope folks had some very insightful. All right, hold up. Folks, hear me? Yeah. I know folks are having very, very, juicy, insightful discussions, but I want to bring you back. I do encourage. I forgot to grab the Post-its, but we're gonna have Post-its on the table, and some of the insights and the lessons that you've had around transformations in your campaigns. Please share that on the Post-it, and we highly encourage you in the back wall where Emily has the graphic notes. If folks can share that in the back, it would be great for other people to then be able to do a gallery walk and read some of the pieces that you shared together in the pair shares. All right. Okay. So I'm going to resume. La lluvia, la lluvia, la lluvia. Rain, clap, la lluvia. So next person I'm going to introduce is Carla Loop from the MSD Formation School, the Florestan Fernandez School, who will be sharing about the particular political formation programs that they've been working on and how that complements and have strengthened their militant mass campaigns in Brazil.
Hola, buen día, camaradas. Un gusto estar con ustedes. Bom dia. Yo soy una mujer latina. Estoy con una camiseta de inspiración LGBTQIA+, hecha por un artista militante del movimiento Sin Tierra. Soy blanca, de pelo rubio. Bien, tome notas porque nosotros de Brasil hablamos mucho. Y esta metodología de hablar así, con poco tiempo, es una cosa diferente en la cultura política, pero acá estamos para intercambiar. Entonces quiero compartir 3 grandes ideas sobre en qué locales, en qué momentos la formación política se hace una herramienta para que avancemos en la lucha. Y esta primera idea es parte de nuestra concepción que la formación política ideológica es una tarea permanente. Y para eso nosotros tenemos que nos preguntar qué objetivos políticos nuestras organizaciones tienen para los trabajadores. Y al responder sobre estos objetivos, nosotros podemos profundizar cuál es el tamaño de la formación que necesitamos. Y si miramos las experiencias históricas, por ejemplo, de la primera revolución socialista que ocurrió en Rusia, Lenin nos enseña 2 principales tareas para organizaciones que se proponen a ser parte de cambios revolucionarios de la sociedad. La primera tarea es, nosotros tenemos que organizar el pueblo. La segunda tarea es, nosotros necesitamos politizar el pueblo. Es decir, al hacer la lucha, nosotros tenemos que hacer avances en la conciencia del pueblo. Esto es politizar el pueblo. Pero no hay receta, porque si fuera fácil, ya teníamos cambiado a puta al carajo este capitalismo. Entonces, las experiencias que fueron acumuladas por los trabajadores nos demuestran que en los momentos de lucha, donde se movilizan las grandes masas, son los principales momentos de avance de la gente trabajadora. Es decir, que a veces en un momento de lucha avanzamos en 2 semanas lo que pasamos estudiando por 20 años, que son las ventanas históricas que las organizaciones tienen que estar atentas para formar su militancia y avanzar en estas ventanas. O sea, en nuestra concepción y nuestra experiencia política reafirmamos que el principal desafío de la formación ideológica es ser capaz de organizar y politizar la lucha. No es posible hacer lucha sin formación y formación sin lucha. Son hijas, son hermanas, están muy conectadas. Y si no comprendimos así, podemos hacer un montón de cosas, menos formación ideológica. Por eso entendemos que no se separa el momento de luchar y el momento de formar. Las 2 cosas están unidas. Pero es evidente que necesitamos profundizar y por eso hacemos escuelas de formación, cursos en niveles locales, estaduales, nacionales, para la base, para los militantes, para los dirigentes, para los cuadros de las organizaciones. Porque lo espontáneo pasa. Necesitamos ser organizados para hacer cambios más estructurales. ¿Estamos juntos? Estoy hablando de cosas muy diferentes. ¿Se reconocen ahí sus organizaciones? Entonces me paso a la segunda idea. Ay, por Dios del tiempo. Que es la formación, es una totalidad de nuestra organización. No es una parte, no es por etapas. O sea, hay que ser continuada. ¿Cuánto tiempo se lleva para formar un militante? Hay que ser, siempre es tiempo de aprender, siempre es tiempo de enseñar, nos dijo Paulo Freire. Esta es una mirada para nuestras organizaciones. Entonces estamos ahí vinculados a un proyecto político, vamos a tener tareas claras y vamos a hacer la proyección de la militancia. Y si no tenemos claros los objetivos de nuestra lucha, no va a estar claros los objetivos de la formación. Por ejemplo, desde Brasil, de MST, uno de nuestros objetivos es hacer la lucha por la tierra. Para eso, organizamos la familia para ocupar la tierra. Al ocupar la tierra, tenemos que garantizar la seguridad de la gente, construir nuestra escuela, nuestra salud, nuestro espacio de formación, de socialización. Y eso es luchar y formar al mismo tiempo. Y quería compartir con ustedes algunos desafíos que son muy claves para todos nosotros, no solo de MST, en que estos momentos tenemos que ser muy cuidadosos para que las direcciones de la organización estén separadas de su base. Si no hay vínculo con base, no hay formación ideológica. La relación entre teoría y práctica no puede ser una mirada romantizada, porque podemos tener un movimiento que elabora teóricamente, que hace buenos análisis, que elabora teóricamente, pero si no hace lucha, no es capaz de influenciar en la correlación de fuerzas real, no va a ser capaz de hacer cambios en su realidad. Entonces, hacer lucha anticapitalista es el punto de partida de nosotros. En Brasil tenemos que luchar por comida saludable, energía. Tenemos que luchar por alfabetizar el pueblo. En estos espacios vamos a hacer luchas y formación de emancipación humana, donde vamos a crear otros valores en la gente. Y es ahí que quiero hablar de una cosa que estamos haciendo aquí, que para nosotros es un principio. No es posible hacer formación ideológica sin internacionalismo. Es decir, que la sangre sin tierra es la sangre palestina. La sangre sin tierra es la sangre de las mujeres. La sangre sin tierra es la sangre de los migrantes. La sangre sin tierra es la sangre de la lucha de los trabajadores y trabajadoras. Y ahí aprendimos, ahí compartimos, ahí tenemos capacidad de avanzar y cambiar más estructuralmente las cosas. Y estoy último minuto, entonces voy a hablar menos, que es la última gran idea, que hacer formación es como que una arte de organizar el pueblo. ¿Qué significa eso? Es que un punto clave en nuestro método de formación es que aprendimos con el pueblo. Parece obvio, pero no es. Entonces la humildad es un requisito fundamental para reconocer que es el pueblo que va a cambiar las cosas. El pueblo organizado con lucha masiva que va a ser capaz de dirigir sus cambios. Entonces, si nuestra formación no acumula para organizar el pueblo, no es una formación ideológica. y aprendimos que el trabajo de base es la principal herramienta pedagógica para dar ritmo, para organizar estos procesos donde la gente participa activamente, como nos decía Leo en su momento de explanación. Y cuando hay un ascenso de luchas, ahí hay un terreno fértil. Ahí podemos aprovechar y hacer cambios. Y de verdad, la última cosa, tenemos que crear mística, tenemos que crear identidad. Porque ahí nos preguntamos, ¿por qué creemos que la lucha colectiva es que la importa, la que hace cambios? ¿Por qué nos inspiramos por las experiencias socialistas? ¿Por qué creemos que tenemos que hacer estas cosas juntas? Esta mística va a ser capaz de nos dar unidad, de nos dar confianza para seguir luchando y combatir hasta que derrubemos este capitalismo. Bien, gracias.
Gracias, Carla. Anoté un montón y creo que por eso estamos aquí. We are here. Sorry, I should not be speaking in Spanish. We are here today because these are the conditions that we're trying to assess. Is that, are we ready? Are we ready during these moments of historic opportunities that may rise? And we are trying to get ready together by organizing our base and hoping we can do more deeper formation together in this in the next 3-4 years together. I wanted to introduce. We're running a little late on time, but I wanted to introduce Adam Gold from the Working Families Party, who will be connecting and sharing with us around the conditions of left engagement right now. We have a midterm election that is high stakes, and yet, as the discussion that happened this morning with the GGJ Action Fund, we are still encountering, our own contradictions in our movement to be able to, contend electorally, because we rightfully so have political disagreements. But these are the spaces in GGJ Member Assembly and the GGJ Action Fund where we want to talk more about how are we going to realize the feminist, anti-racist, regenerative economy without contesting the terrain of governance. And Adam is here today to give us a little bit more sense of the terrain and how we can integrate both the political formation that we're working on, as well as the fair economy campaign that we hope to decide together. How can we see also the terrain of governance to be a place where we contest for our vision? So I'm going to pass this mic to Adam.
Thank you. Hey, everybody. Good to be here. So, I'm supposed to describe myself. Short, white, Jewish guy with a plaid shirt.
Mic,
Closer. And I'm representing the Working Families Party. Some of the views I share may be my own, I'll just say that. But it's an exciting time for GGJAF because you're jumping into this terrain of elections. And, I just wanted to break down kind of, from my perspective, some of the opportunities and just the kind of overall balance of power of elections in the United States. I actually started, community organizing for most of my adult life, doing a lot of the base building, consciousness building, and kind of fighting for rights that some of the other comrades have already been speaking about on this panel. But over time, I also became more and more interested in kind of the power and power that was left on the table, I would say, by not engaging much in elections in our organizing work. We always, would do stuff once in a while, but I found that we would, show up with 200, 300 people at the city council, and the people there would listen and they would vote against us. And I was like, constantly frustrated that we didn't also have a plan to replace those people and have them vote for us, because the power of our numbers was something, but it wasn't quite getting us there. Now I work for the Working Families Party on the federal team, working on a lot of federal elections, as well as some races here in California. You know, I'm supposed to talk about the balance of power. I guess I would just say that in the U.S. Right now, the left is basically a minority party in the electoral system. We don't really have a system set up for minority parties, so you wouldn't necessarily know that it exists, but I think that the kind of constellation of left forces who are engaged in elections basically represent a minority party in a country that is not in control, but is also not insignificant at this point. I think the right is, you know, in control of a lot of levers of power, right? We know they took over the Supreme Court and are about to make a bunch more terrible decisions. They're in charge of many state governments, and they are, you know, on the brink of, you know, they're struggling hard to take control of the federal government, which, of course, they had largely recently and then lost in 2020 and now are trying to get back, right? Neoliberals are, you know, currently basically in control of the federal government and are struggling to, you know, kind of on multiple fronts to not give away too much to the left, keep them in the coalition, but also struggling against, you know, very powerful right wing that is, you know, threatening to kind of take down even more structures of democracy, of basic rights, et cetera, if they're able to take control. And so they're also kind of fighting off the kind of authoritarian right. So that's kind of the basic situation. I mean, in this country, and I credit, you know, this kind of like idea that, you know, to a friend Waleed Shahid, who was like doing one of these panels once that I sat on, was that in the US, the coalition governments are really kind of formed before the election, unlike some of the other countries that are here and other parliamentary systems where they basically, you vote for all the different parties, and then whatever parties got some votes, they form a coalition afterwards, right? And they try to. And the leftist parties are in there, or maybe they're not, or you know, the centrist parties. In the United States, all that kind of happens basically within the two parties. The third parties can't really get much of a foothold because of a lot of the legal structure. So you know, and people have written about the multiple parties inside the Democratic Party or the parties inside the Republican Party. And that's roughly, you know, kind of how it ends up working. I'm not saying I'm in favor of that, but that's kind of where we are. And so, you know, for example, the Working Families Party sometimes does things outside of the Democratic Party, but for the most part, we're kind of like one of those forces that's trying to get the leftmost people within the Democratic coalition that's going to take over, for example, right? So where are we now? You know, Trump was in charge. We were able to kick him out. There was a big relief, I think, for a lot of everybody around the world and here. Now we're at the midterm elections that are about to happen in a month. There's a very close balance of power between the two parties, right? The Senate is tied with 50-50, or basically, and the House has about 10 or 11 more Democrats than Republicans, so they can only afford to lose like 6 people in these upcoming elections. Traditionally, once you know, whoever's in charge, in power, their party usually suffers during the midterms because basically everybody who fought so hard to get them elected, like many of us did in 2020, then it's kind of like cool, and then everybody who lost is like, fuck these guys, we got to take them out, and then in the midterms they take a bunch of people out. So what usually happens is that that ruling party will lose some some folks, right? And so right now, we're facing those tailwinds, or headwinds, I guess, headwinds. But other things have changed, right? People have been pissed off that, for example, the Supreme Court overturned Roe. And so women are registering to vote at a rate that's much higher than ever seen before. And it's usually a little bit more than men, but now it's like 5, 10, 20% more than men in many states, even like Kansas, where you recently saw an anti-abortion law get defeated in a very Republican state, right? So there are things that are unpredictable about this moment, and that could change things. With only a couple of minutes, I would just say, with only 1 minute, oh, all right, cool. What is a role for, basically far-left organizations who are new to elections? Like, do we really want to get involved in some of these very few swing races and kind of like awkward places in the country, I'll say, where, you have people like running that may not represent, because, we couldn't get folks like Brittany and others elected in their primaries. In some places, in a few places we did, right? We have Jamie McLeod Skinner in Oregon, which is a swing district. We have Michelle Vallejo in Texas in a swing district. But in many of these swing districts, we did not succeed in getting real strong progressives, and probably none of them, as strong progressive as Brittany. But, do we engage in some of these places that are really tough and we may not have a lot of people? I think nobody would say that any of us should abandon the base building and the organizing that we're all doing, because that's what makes us winning elections possible, and that's what makes all the other change possible that we want. But in those brief moments where we can do something, why not give it a shot? Why not throw into the broader united front that we are, like it or not, in, trying to defeat the right, and see what contributions we can make, and then kind of evaluate and be stronger and bigger next time, and win the elections we want to win.
Thank you, Adam, for that overview of the terrain. This is not the last of the conversation, and we're going to continue assessing. I want to pass the mic to Brittany. So in this terrain, right, a complicated terrain, we're trying to figure out then what is our movement's protagonism, our movement's ability to, engage both the base building, the visionary kind of formation politics that we want to do, and see ourselves actually protagonists in trying to affect the governing terrain of governance. And Brittany spoke about it a little bit in the AF meeting, but we wanted to pass the mic for her to speak a little bit more of the details around seeing the left row.
Thank you. I am a Puerto Rican, light-skinned woman with curly, short hair, and some thickness. Okay, I'm gonna try to organize into just like some key points that then I hope we continue to dig into deeper and discuss together for the long run. So one is, if we are to, I orient to a desire for us to take over the government. And so that's where I'm coming from. And my sense is that that is a common ground to a degree that we have in this room, right? And perhaps we don't, we do not have American left alignment on the end state of governance if we were to accomplish that. And that's, first of all, a project that we need to work on, right? And so that's the first point, is that if we believe that a revolutionary scale of change is necessary, if we believe in revolutionary politics, then we have to work on building a deeper alignment around the alternative that that we would actually enact if we were able to dismantle the colonial government that we have now. So that's one thing that I think is important for us to be working through, and I think that contesting on the front of governance and electoralism supports our thinking, our learning, our strategy development, our intelligence, and our power to be able to do that with rigor and discipline. I think that one of the things that holds us back from that is individualism in the way that we think about our relationship to the government. And I think that this is really true in our American left spaces writ large. We have allowed this idea of moralism, of individual moralism, to guide our sense of righteousness and accountability as leftists. And by that I mean, we have this sense, even in the anti-imperialist sector of the movement, I would say that the average person organizing in that space believes that there is something morally important about refusing to vote, for example. I think that that is problematic because there's no collective benefit that comes from one individual refusing to vote for problematic candidates or participate in the colonial government process that we have. If there was a mass movement to withdraw our participation and consent that was organized, had a specific goal, and was positioned to expand our ability to wield power politically, that would potentially be really effective. But that's not how that shows up, right? It shows up as this, I am so righteous in my leftism that I cannot, dirty myself by voting in this election. And I just think we really need to dig into that and be more nuanced in how we think. There's nothing inherently sacred about voting. There's nothing inherently moral about voting on an individual level. And so we need to be, in my opinion, orienting ourselves to operate and wield electoral or political power collectively. And that means that we have to build collective institutions that can hold that and facilitate that, or we doom ourselves to a kind of individualistic reactionary relationship to the existing government. That can look a lot of different ways, right? And we should debate all of the different ways that that could look, but we have to actually focus on debating the ways that that could look in order to get there, right? Additionally, I think that there's a kind of empire privilege that comes from the idea that we don't have a responsibility to at least run interference on the harm and damage that our government is doing around the world, right? I think that there's this tendency to say, that's not my government, fuck that government, and therefore I have no responsibility to my comrades around the world who are being hurt not by, social dynamics, but specifically by our government, right? And so I think that if we are accountable to an internationalist vision, we have a responsibility within the United States to figure out how we can be effective at infiltrating, undermining, and limiting the damage and impact that our existing United States government is doing around the world. And I think it's really important for us to reflect on the kind of privilege of completely withdrawing when we are deeply oppressed and impacted as peoples here in the United States, and also not in the same ways and not to the same scale as our comrades around the world, who don't actually even have access to vote in a process that will in some ways impact them even more aggressively and negatively than it will impact us where we sit, where we live, where we operate, right? And I think it's important for us to grapple with that tension. Lastly, I'm at time, but I think it's important for us to acknowledge that for a long time, our teachers, Brother Malcolm, Fred Hampton, there are so many who have reminded us that to operate politically without independent political power is ineffective and counterproductive. I agree with that analysis. And I think that realistically, we cannot compete in any kind of third-party way right now within the structures that currently exist, because the ruling class has been so effective at creating structural barriers to that being viable. I think that that's why the Working Families Party strategy of building an independent party line, but also navigating the tensions of the monopoly that the Democratic Party has, along with the Republican Party, on the structure of electoral process and governance, is an important example of infiltrating the system so that we can get enough power and opportunity to start to loosen the screws in that machine that create new possibilities next, in the way that Steve talked about on the first day, right, that create new possibilities for independent political organizing. Thank you.
Thank you, Brittany. That was fire. Woo! We're going to do some chanting at the end. No worries. So the next speaker is Sandra Dennis from Miami Worker Center. Woohoo! Y'all, she just flew in at midnight last night, so.
Give it. Thank you.
So I wanted to save our last speaker because it comes, all of these, all of what has been shared, you know, by our international compas around learning from their lessons of their organizing strategy, their formation school strategy, our ally Adam talking about the electoral terrain and governing power. These are all places and spaces that we're learning from, but it all comes back to how do we bring it back to our membership, and how are we organizing and base building and integrating a lot of the interconnections and pieces that we're learning and sharing and co-creating through GGJ. And so Santra and Miami Worker Center have been very, very active in the fair economy vision process, some of the fights that we've been doing. And specifically, I want to go back to building our base and how do we continue to build the protagonism of our working class, feminist, Black, many multi-sector base to continue to see their development and their campaign and struggles develop through the different terrains that we've talked about today. So I'm going to pass this to Santra. Finish us off.
Thank you so much. So just want y'all to know, grew up in the church, so it's going to be a call and response. And I'm super tired. So I want y'all to repeat after me. We believe that we will win. We believe that we will win. We believe that we will win. Thank y'all so much. I very much believe that we will win. I just want to share a little bit about myself. I'm Sandra Dennis, Sandra Denis, child of Haitian immigrants, freedom fighters from the north side of Haiti, and it always brings me chills to think about who my people are, what they continue to mean to me, and what is happening even right now in the beautiful country of Haiti, and it has a lot to do with what we talked about right now. I am also a child of domestic worker. I am one of 4 girls, don't have any brothers, and I've been impacted by systems, specifically the work of the Miami Worker Center in terms of what does it mean for women workers to be protected, to be honored, and to be paid well? What does it mean for our communities to have a place to live? So we're gonna talk about that, but I wanna pause. I told y'all I grew up in the church, so I have a few shout outs because I see Trinice, longtime board member of the Miami Worker Center, Kathleen, who's an organizer at the Miami Worker Center, Flavia in the back, who's the interpreter, one of our good friends, who always does language justice with our people. I want to also recognize our sisters, women working together out of Florida as well. So we are losing. And I think we don't talk about that enough. And if we don't talk about it, we don't realize that it can get worse. So just last week in Florida, we experienced Hurricane Ian. Thankfully, the southern part of Florida, Miami-Dade County, Broward County, where many of our members are from, were spared the brunt of it. We did have a few tornadoes touch down. Lots of folks lost electricity. Want to name that Florida Power and Light increased rates this year. And again, little breeze, little bit of rain, and we lose entire systems of electricity. So a lot to say around how we need to contend for power, because that's our dollars. I want to talk about Southwest Florida a little bit, because it reminds me of a trip that we took to Glasgow with some of our folks, and our indigenous brothers and sisters reminded us that we need to have the skill sets. We need to know and be in relationship with the land, because Mother Earth is upset. We have not done right by her, and the government will leave us to ourselves. And so what we see happening in Southwest Florida is that our communities are not being focused on. The communities on the beach, the communities where their wealth is where all the news is happening. People are not talking about how Florida has lost, some of those parts of Florida have lost 100% of their crops. Farm workers will not have work. And because many of them are undocumented, they will not have any aid. We are all we have, and if we believe that, we're gonna organize, we're gonna get ourselves together, friends, family, sisters, and we're gonna build mass movements so that we can get it done. Really quickly, our people at the Miami Worker Center, multilingual, multi-generational, beautiful organization that predates me. I've been at the Miami Worker Center for 2 years, going on 3. I'm a pandemic ED. Lots to talk about what that means. But I want to name that our folks come from deep south, Haiti, Bahamas, Nicaragua, who have fled environmental disasters, political and economic uproar as well. What does that mean to us? That means that our people are the experts. They know, they've been through it, they have a lot to say, and if we listen, we can learn from them and do things right. Really quickly, in terms of how we're landing this, came to the Miami Workers Center and we're like, look, we can't keep losing, y'all. We can't keep losing. Do we want to win, and what does it take to win? Our organizers knocked doors during pandemic. Why? Because our membership, domestic workers, people on the front line, never got the opportunity to stop working. They were on the front lines, we were on the front lines. And because of that, we learned from our membership, and we knew that women with small children were the majority of folks who were being evicted during the pandemic, right? And because we knew that, we knew we had to stand in the gap for them. We needed to be mobilizing with them. They need to be showing up and being the face of what the eviction crisis is. Because what the media would tell us is that the eviction crisis are folks who just want to squat, people who are not working, people who don't care, people who just don't want to pay their bills. But that's not the truth. Thank you, Cindy. The truth is that our government are failing women, mothers with small children. And what do we want to say about that? So what we did at the Miami Worker Center was launch a campaign for a Tenant Bill of Rights, putting mothers at the front and at the center of this campaign, talked to every elected official, talked to thousands of people on the doors, and made sure that they heard from us, saw us at the doors, and during the and at the commission. And during that time we were doing the Tenant Bill of Rights, you all will know that there was a building collapse in Surfside. We told our elected officials, we knew that the reason why that can happen is because there was no protections for tenants. We know that in our communities, there are buildings with rats, rodents, mildew, mold, and no one ever does anything about it. And so we had, for the building that happened in Surfside, we knew that there were 10 and 20 other buildings in our communities that often, from us just looking at it, they needed to be condemned as well. But who was responsible? Who would we hold accountable if those buildings would be condemned and people would be displaced? We knew our elected officials had to rise to the occasion, but they wouldn't do it if we didn't pressure them. So any of the people here from South Florida would tell you, everywhere we could be, every time there was a conversation to be had, every time we saw an elected official, every time we could, we were talking about tenant protections. The last thing I'll say, I know I'm running out of time, we recently won the Tenant Bill of Rights, and that is only because women workers with small children talk to their neighbors and they said, Miami is for us too. It's not only for the wealthy, it's for us, the people who work and the people who build this economy. We deserve and we get to live here too. The next, I would say, right to counsel. We recently pushed our government to ensure that people who are going through eviction have legal support. I live for poor people like us standing up to the big boys. And so we put $2.4 million in the budget to ensure that poor folks, working folks in Miami could get access to legal counsel. That didn't happen because the elected officials wanted to do it. It happened because we mobilized and we continue to show up. And the last thing we're working on, and there was also an Office of Housing Advocacy, I would say, 3 campaign wins in 2 years because we knew that if we didn't do it, our people would be left behind. And we got to know, and our people have to see that if they organize, if they organize, if they stand together, if they bring their brothers and their sisters and their family members into the fight, we can win. And then lastly, I didn't talk about this, the biggest point that I was supposed to talk about is our care workers. The care industry, specifically with home health aides, is supposed to be the top 10 biggest growing industries in this country. I can't tell, because in an industry that is so important, there are no protections for many of them. They experience a lot of exploitation on the job, and because of the current conditions in Florida in terms of the state, we've taken our fight to the local level, so we're moving on a local domestic worker bill of rights campaign fight, and we hope that by the time we come back to an assembly like this, we can say that we've been victorious as well. Thank y'all so much.
Thank you, Santra. That is the actual struggle, many struggles that the fair economy is trying to push for our folks, and we hope that we can continue to amplify what are the material basis of struggle that is going to define our campaign, right? That's going to weave our campaign, as Leo had shared with us. I'm going to take, it's been almost an hour and a half. I wanted to give us a little break before we actually give folks a chance to get some questions and comments from you all. And so folks, you can think about your question and write them down, and after we come back from the break, come up and maybe share. I want to try to open it more as a dialogue where we want to hear from you all, as well as have the panelists also, our allies and folks, be able to be in a dialogue with you about some of these questions around how do we continue to build our mass base, expand, build the forces that's going to be necessary to expand our alternative vision. So let's take maybe a 5-minute bio break. Does that sound good? So that means we'll come back at the 40 mark or 41 mark. Thank you. Folks, we're on a break. So if you need to use the restroom, go freshen up, get some more tea, some coffee, water, please do so.
Very fast.
All right, folks. If people can come back, folks. Grab your teas. Sure. Yeah. I'm gonna, bring 3 people. Hello, hello. Can you help grab folks? Yeah, I'm gonna.
I'll throw a body question out and if people hear it.
Yeah. So, vamos a, solo tenemos tiempo para 3 preguntas de los participantes y yo voy a pasar a ustedes que cualquier persona que quiere responder puede responder, pero sería bueno por lo menos una de cada ustedes por lo menos responde una vez, ¿no?
And you can never win. Yes, yes.
We're gonna start, but we don't have maybe time for getting 3 questions.
That's fine. You want to say hi?
Yeah, he's
Wanna make
he's
sure
amazing.
that all of them
I saw the flag.
one time to respond.
He did a little revolution.
One of them is questions.
Really?
Whatever is
Tell me if I did it.
relevant.
I see. Okay. Sorry, I was trying to follow. Okay.
Gotcha.
I know. 3 questions.
There's from the audience, and then so folks have a choice.
Okay.
But every one of
All the questions we asked
at the same time.
and then we can choose.
Mais difícil eles ganhar do que
Multiple choice.
Yes. Yes.
All right.
So the live stream needs to end at 12. So whatever is happening at that moment, if you can pause and just acknowledge that we're going to close the live stream.
All right. Rain, clap. Rain, clap. All right. So, folks are back. I'm going to ask maybe we have to close out our live stream at noon, but I wanted to make sure that we could get a couple of questions and discussion going. So, for those folks who have a question or a comment, if you can come up, and we'll take 1 round of questions. I think it might be the only round, but I highly encourage folks afterwards during lunchtime to continue, talking with our international allies, our national allies, Brittany and Santra, homies, they're here. So I'm going to open it up for our members to, come up and actually, participate in, asking any particular questions or thoughts that they want to share. So I see Julio. And if folks can come up to the front because we are live streaming, and you can introduce yourself and then.
¿Español o inglés?
No importa.
Okay. Hola, buenas tardes. Mi nombre es Julio Sánchez, soy de Seattle, Puerto Rico. Tengo una pregunta. I have a question about those face-to-face conversations. We in God Green right now are re-engaging our community after 2 years of a hiatus of COVID. And we have a debate within the organization. We're wondering, in these times of social networks, engaging through Facebook, Instagram, however else, are the face-to-face conversations, are those organizing conversations that we have had for so many years still the way to go? Or are there other ways that are taking over and are equally effective at engaging our communities? And I'm going to direct this question perhaps to the organizers from the United States, because it's the closest experience that we have to compare to.
Thank you, Julio. We're going to take a stack of questions before we pass it to the panelists. So see if you can come, line up here.
Buenas tardes. ¿Qué tan gran panel tuvimos ahora? Mi nombre es Juana Flores y soy de Mujeres Unidas y Activas aquí en el área de la Bahía, originaria de México. Entonces, pues yo no sé si es pregunta o es comentario o es que hay mucho de lo que hablaron, cada uno, mucho de dónde partir. Y por ejemplo, desde hace rato yo me quedé con la duda de estarse moviendo o estar aplicando o estar una candidatura, postulándose, esa es la palabra, postulándose para una candidatura. Nosotros, yo creo que el pueblo, la base, los trabajadores necesitamos este tipo de candidatos, ¿no? Que nos van a entender, que están con nosotros en la lucha. Y cómo seguir el trabajo de unirnos para derrotar el imperialismo o a los ricos que por su dinero ponen a sus propios gentes en el gobierno, en la política, pues para seguir ellos solamente sus intereses o cubrir los intereses de los más ricos, ¿no? Entonces, creo que sí necesitamos bastante organización y necesitamos una economía de base para poder también luchar y ganar. Es lo que yo pienso, ¿no? Porque yo a veces me derroto, sinceramente, que tenemos mucho poder, somos muchos más. ¿Y por qué no hemos logrado en este momento tener ahí a estos candidatos? Entonces, yo creo que sí necesitamos un movimiento grande. Entonces, reconociendo el trabajo que están haciendo los compañeros en Brasil, que es tanto ese trabajo, entonces, cómo ellos nos vienen a decir lo esencial, ¿no? Hay que llegar al pueblo, hay que llegar a la gente, a los más, a los que les está afectando, y convencerlos y traerlos, movilizarlos y traerlos. Y yo creo que ese es el ejemplo que necesitamos en este país, porque aquí en Estados Unidos, porque aquí tenemos mucho poder, pero necesitamos de tener más poder popular. Y estoy hablando lo que estoy pensando, quizás estoy toda por ningún lado, pero eso es lo que ahorita se me viene, ¿no? ¿Cómo podemos, ¿no? Hacer más ese poder, de veras tener y reconocer que el pueblo es el que tiene la voz, que el pueblo es el que tiene el poder, que hay que respetarlo, ¿verdad? Y hay que estar con él, y hay que pues movilizar, ¿no? Porque a veces en este país siento que a veces hay mucho paternalismo de que, ¿qué es lo que necesitan el pueblo? ¿Qué es lo que necesitan los trabajadores? ¿Qué es lo que necesitan los inmigrantes? Pues creemos que necesitan esto, pero muchas veces estas organizaciones no toman mucho en cuenta el poder, ¿no? Que ellos son los que tienen la voz, ellos son los que tienen el conocimiento, porque ellos son los que tienen la experiencia de la vida, ¿no? De lo que les hace falta. Y bueno, regresando también a lo de pues, las trabajadoras del hogar, definitivamente este trabajo, pues yo fui trabajadora del hogar desde mi país, desde muy niña, desde niña yo fui trabajadora por el empuje, ¿verdad? Gracias. Por el empuje que había en mi familia, ¿no? Entonces aquí vemos mucha comunidad de que son trabajadoras del hogar y que venimos ya desde nuestros países y aquí llegamos ya a un país que no es nuestro, que no tenemos documentos, que no sabemos el idioma, que nos intimidan, que nos discriminan y por eso tenemos muchos abusos. Y aunque sí, en muchas En trabajos de las trabajadoras del hogar, sí, muchos de los trabajadores fueron los de primer línea, por ejemplo, los cuidadores, ¿verdad? Los cuidadores de pacientes, de personas adultas o de niños, pero las trabajadoras de limpieza, ellas sí fueron despedidas, perdieron sus trabajos y no se los han regresado, ya no tuvieron tiempo de regresar. Ya voy a acabar, gracias. Y no les regresaron, entonces ahora hay esa pobreza más extrema en esta área de trabajo, y por eso pues sí seguimos trabajando mucho para eso. Gracias, y pues perdón que me extendí.
Gracias, Juana. Puedes acercar más, si quieres.
Bueno.
son separados.
Gracias a este panel tan extraordinario por todo su trabajo. Y yo le quiero pedir a Aaron y a Brittany que nos hablen más sobre el poder electoral colectivo, porque esa frase a mí me impactó. Yo no entraba a las elecciones, yo soy de México y son súper corruptos. Pero creo que si no tenemos gente en el poder, nuestro trabajo exhausto que las compañeras hacen como trabajadoras domésticas y todo el trabajo que hacemos como organizadores es aplastado por esos hijos de su pinche madre de los derechistas, ¿verdad? Entonces ya es momento de despertar, compañeros, y hay que entrarle. Hay que entrarle. Brittany se sacrificó y la criticaron y nosotros ahí tranquilos. Creo que hay que entrarle.
Hi, this is Frances, she, hers. Adam, earlier you said that the neoliberal Democrats control the government and the federal government. And I guess I want to spotlight that they also control all the state parties, the county parties, the Dems, all the school boards. So how do we get the dialogue from the bottom to the top, especially with organizations that are working on federal national elections, to pay attention to some of the municipal races? Where do we find that capacity?
Hey, I appreciate all of you, what you said. And of course, there's a lot that I agree with. And a lot of it is that, sure, my name is Alita, Parable the Sower, she, her, they, them, comrade, mama. The biggest parts that I want more debate on, that I hope and wish we can have times within the conference after the panels, is talking about the things that we say we want to center, like the Black radical tradition. I think there are elders from the fact that this is Ohlone land, Black Panthers that had movements here that aren't represented in this dialogue is missing from me. Also, as a intersectionality of myself, you know, the Black Lives Matter, which are also here today, having more of a debate. And how do we talk about the nonprofit work we're doing? Because as Americans, right, it's a little different than the international. And having that debate on how do we include, when we talk about the National Black Radical Political Conference that happened this year, but it also happened in 1974. And I feel like these are places we don't get enough time to talk, and it allows us to touch on it as a real statement, when we say a Sada statement or Huey Newton statement or Malcolm X statement, but we don't go further. So I'm hoping that we can have further discussions on some of those elders, Jalil Montekim, who's here around for me, Sekou Ndiga, who's also free. They're also doing political stuff. And how do they fit into our movement if a lot of us in my skin as an African woman is teaching that to our next generations? That movement is also the respect and the continuing of movements that are in this land and who we are. Thank you.
Thank you, Alita. So I'm going to close out the questions for now, and we are going to ask our, I guess, there was a couple of comments and primarily a question from Julio around the different tactics of organizing, face-to-face versus in the era of social media, like how do we reach out our base, and then also around electoral organizing and feedback around that. So I'm going to pass. Maybe who wants to take the first question?
Yeah, I want to shout out my comrade who came and did a training with us most recently from Center for Third World Organizing, and they shared with us, and it's a reminder that we are looking for the people who are looking for us, right? There are leaders in our communities who know hundreds of people. We are looking for them because we want to also know hundreds of people. I want to say that I don't believe that the organizing can exist online. I don't believe it's as effective because we're not building authentic relationships, my humble opinion, online. Also, our people are not online in the ways that we hope them to be. Like our folks that we organize have limited access to technology, can't navigate it well, and it is our job to help them, and they don't feel comfortable, right? And so we want to organize people where they can see each other, where they can share a meal, where we can see their kids, where they can feel like they're a part of our family. That happens in person. And what came up for the Miami Workers Center, and I'll name, is that our people continued to work and put their lives on the line during the entire pandemic. We got to also think about how do we protect ourselves, because they didn't have the opportunity or the privilege to not be on the front lines. If we're with them, that means we're with them. That means we're ensuring that we don't leave them behind and that we continue to be in relationship with them throughout the pandemic. And the last thing I'll say, the first few months of the pandemic, how many of our members said to us, I'm depressed. When are you opening the center? We need to come back. I have nobody here. When are you opening the center? We are people's homes. And so we need to be very mindful of that. And I think we can't get lost in what has to happen in person in the ground and some of the supportive work that can happen online.
Thank you, Santra. I just wanted to note that we are officially ending the live stream. Thanks to all the members and folks that joined us on the virtual space to hear and get a little taste of the membership assembly. So I'm going to pass, but we're going to continue the conversation for maybe another 5 minutes, and I wanted to make sure that we hear from the rest of the panelists on some of the comments and questions that were raised.